What's up, guys? Checking in. We are live. We're going to talk as a part of Draft Central here. We're building up toward free agency first, then the draft. We're going to get there at some point. Obviously, we're going to have some important topics with free agency to touch on that give us an indication of where these guys are going. It is going to be an interesting time, no doubt about it, and we'll get a clearer picture of where the Browns will go with the draft. But we're going to keep talking about this stuff. If you have not noticed, we've gone week to week. We've talked safeties. We've talked corners, we've talked edges, and then we're now talking safeties. We're going to keep getting you prepared for the draft. Should the Browns pick one of these players at 26 or in those immediate next three picks on day two? So to do that, we're going to bring in our good friend Stephen Thomas. You know him as the draft guru over here at the OBR. He's our guy every day. Gives us the great content, the great mocks that hopefully you are all checking out. So Steve, how you doing, man?
Good. Trying to live up to some part of that guru name and failing wildly, but enjoying the ride.
Hey, this is a good question. Actually, I wanted to throw at you because I think this is something we will do. Patton asked about this, doing a live draft cast. We are going to try to do that this year, and we'll have myself, we'll have Steve, we'll have some of our other folks on. StreamYard makes this stuff pretty easy. You know, this is professional looking, and I'm the furthest from a digital professional content creators as possible. So if we can make it look this good, we can simulcast everything, and hopefully we can bring this thing into your living room and you can follow along with us. But today we're going to talk safeties, man, and it's a completely interesting group because there are some guys that we have talked about this week for potential free agent answers. We've talked about I wrote about Marcus Williams, wrote about Anthony Harris. We've talked about Marcus May so far. We will have a few others that we will talk about. There are some really good options in free agency should the Browns pursue them. So should they go get a safety between now and the end of March, heading into, the important months leading up to the draft, this could all change. But for now, we're going to talk about guys that they could potentially take there, much like we did last week with edge players. And there are edge players that they could go get, sign, and change their draft outlook at those positions. So we can't just bunch all this stuff in a month when the draft when free agency is over. We got to talk about these guys now, so we're going to do so. So, Steve, I'm going to throw up the video, man, and we're going to talk about some of these prospects that first we eliminate based on some indicators that tell us kind of what the Browns are looking for. You gave us the caveat for why they lean this way earlier, on the last episode where we talked about edge players. If you can hit that as we start, then we'll talk about each guy as we go.
Sure. Yeah, Richie Grant, guy, a lot of people, I like him too. I love his game, but he's already 23. He turns 24 during the season this year. Like we've said last week, it's only a 1-year sample size with Andrew Berry, but he trended really young. Pretty much anybody who was already 23 appeared to be just completely off the radar. So as much as his game is really, really good, and I like watching him play, I just, especially in the range he's going to go, because he's going to go early, I don't think they're going to spend draft capital on somebody in that age.
I'm with you. I think he's got some fun tape, like you said. Just would be a little surprising if they went that route early on. Kind of keep him sliding here. Next is Paris Ford.
All these guys, yeah, same for Paris Ford. I liked him a lot last year, actually. I was kind of surprised that he went back for one more year, but he'll turn 23 over the summer as well. Same thing, and same thing for this guy, Wiggins. Like his game a ton. Big hitter, but he's another redshirt senior who's already 23. So, I mean, these are guys that are being talked about in the top 100. And if they do loosen that age restriction, if they do at all, and we don't know if they do, but if they do, it'll come much later in the draft, one would think. So if you're, just a fan, just, doing it by yourself like I do, and you have limited time and limited resources, you try to narrow it down so you're not wasting time on guys that they're not even looking at. And those would be three guys, while we really like their game, probably, because of the age guardrail, off the Browns' radar, at least early.
I'm with you. So let's talk about who we think they could like here. Lead us off about Trevon.
Oh, God. I don't know how you couldn't like this guy. I mean, there's literally nothing the position calls for that he doesn't do and do extremely well. He's 6'2", like you said, over 200 pounds. Ton of range, and we'll see that in the clips we're about to see. Can cover, if not every blade of grass, all of them but one. He's good in coverage in the slot. He closes downhill fast in the run game. His PFF grade was almost 92, which is an elite. That's over 2 seasons. 6 picks, 20 pass breakups, loves to get his hand on the ball, 124 tackles. I mean, you name it, he can do everything. And the thought of putting him back there with a, knock on wood, hopefully healthy Grant Delpit, the two of them together, the alternatives and the versatility and the opportunity for disguising things that the two of them, plus Ronnie Harrison playing up closer to the line, offers. I mean, it's fantastic. If they go this way at 26, I would have no problem with it whatsoever.
Yeah, we're going to get some clips of him here. He's a Jim Thorpe Award winner this year, had a fantastic season. This is going to be a broad variety. You're talking center field type, like a guy who can run up, play the alley as we see here, hit people in the alley. He's not afraid to play the run game. I think he had over 124 tackles according to Football References guide. I know those things can deviate a little site to site, but he'll stick his head in. But he's a center fielder type, and to me, that's the stuff that I love. I mean, you don't think between Grant Delpit and between Ronnie Harrison, they probably have a player that they feel can play box, slot, feel comfortable with. They need a center fielder. Whether that center fielder happens here with Trevon or somebody of that ilk, or it happens with a guy in free agency is what we'll be paying close attention to. But this guy covers ground, man. In football, tracking on deep throws, can run with people in the slot, can squat play, the man-to-man coverage in the slot. He can do all that stuff. That's the stuff you love. And, man, when he rolls to deep single high center fielder, it's some electric stuff. Like the hips, they're twitchy, all of the things that you want. And you can see here, you guys are watching the clips the same way we are.
This one I love because it looks – look where he is. I mean, he's obviously a film rat. Run that one back if we can. Because he starts to move into where the route is going to go 5 yards before it actually happens. I mean, it's obviously film study and recognition. So when you add that in, he goes.
He's in a dead spot right there. It's a really challenging spot. Yeah, because he knows
where he's going.
He's got help here, not much, but he knows just the lean based on where he's going off of this. Once he hits the collision, yeah, man, he's playing that route before it's run.
I mean, and when you add that kind of recognition and obvious, dedication to film study to his, physical gifts, which are among the best in the class, if not the best in the class. I mean, how do you not want a guy like this? And then, not only that, but you'll see in some of these clips we've seen already, and there's a few coming up, if I remember correctly. This one I love, the recognition. Just boom. I love it. But not only can he cover the ground and get there, but at the catch point, he has the agility and the hands to get his feet around, get in position, and actually make the play instead of just getting there and then sort of being clunky with his feet and, flailing with his arms to knock the ball away any way he can. He actually is playing the ball a lot of the time after making these athletic, covering the grounds with all of his athleticism. And even if he does let a guy get a little bit past him, he knows he can make it up.
Yeah, he's certainly not clunky when the ball arrives. I mean, he is not uncomfortable playing around defenders, as you'll see a little bit better view right here, playing through this as Spencer Rattler's delivering that. I mean, that's a flag play quite often.
I love this run fill here. I love this.
And if you can have between Delpit, between Ronnie, 3 guys who can be diverse, who can all play, half field coverage, who can all play center field coverage when they're asked to, but can come up and do that. That's when you can play 3 safeties all the time and feel great about it.
Yeah,
that's
like this one here.
Love, man.
This is what I'm talking about. He not only gets there, but watch, he turns, positions, and he grabs it. There's a lot of guys
who can this too.
Who can run with people. There's a lot of guys who can run with people down the field. There's some guys, they can get up and knock this ball down. But being able to twist your body like this at the catch point and have the hands to make the play, which he does on a regular basis, that's what takes him to that next level, in my opinion. And
it's hard to see in the upper corner, the right corner of your picture here. This is a double move. This looks like a late post and go. I mean, it's just a stick and go. You can see, top right corner there. If you watch here when it hits the 314 mark on my side, you guys probably can't see the number on your side. Upper right corner, see that boom, and then he takes off. He doesn't get fooled by that double move at all. And he's running with him, man. Hip pocket, find the football, tracing the football. Don't make contact at all. That's a beautiful play. So he is safety number 1, in my opinion, in terms of if they don't go get somebody. Right. I guess, even if they do, they could still, best player available at that spot, could still be in play. But if they don't, I would feel great about him at 26 personally. And here's another guy to feel great about at 26. Talk about Javon.
Absolutely. Another guy. The Ducks had a lot of guys in their defensive backfield between him and Thomas Graham and Lenoir. There's 3 guys that I'd be thrilled to get in. But he's kind of in the same universe as Trevon Moehrig. He's just not quite as refined, I think. And the opt-out, he didn't play this past year, didn't help because he probably would have taken the next step. I mean, it just makes sense. But much like Moehrig, he can play deep. He can drop down in the slot. Over 100 tackles and 9 picks in only 2 years. And he's a guy that has been reported to run, excuse me, in the 4.4s, the low 4.4s, which for a safety is in the NFL is just another added weapon. He can hit. He's got great ball skills. The hips are fluid. There's nothing in his game that you can point out and say that's a major flaw. Some things need to improve. Obviously, he's a college kid. They all do when they come into the league.
Yeah, a guy who's not even 21 yet, will turn 21 before the season, but still very young. Some slot coverage right there, playing the football up the seam. That's a great play. Finding the football in space. Let's try to see if we can go back and get that one again.
Yeah, obviously that ball should have never been thrown, but still, I mean, to be there and get up and make the play.
Yeah, I love guys who can turn their hips like that, man. Turn their hips, blind spot themselves, and be able to get back and make a play on the football. That's a great play. You're going to see him come into your screen here. That's him diving away from the opposite side. It's a little hard to see. We didn't get to highlight him on that play. You'll see him come into the screen here. That's his diving play, not covering that man. It's great football awareness. Again, slot coverage, slot fade, very popular college football route. Finds its way into the NFL plenty too. Great job tracking the football, making a play on it.
Yeah, another underthrown ball, obviously, but it never should have been thrown. There was nowhere to throw it.
Yep. Here he is at the top of the screen, top hash, playing run fill.
Boom.
He plays through kneecaps, man. Like you can see him 8 here at the bottom of the screen. He's a kneecap player. Nice hybrid guy, really nice hybrid guy. Can do a ton of different stuff. And you talked about the speed.
Oh, the
obviously
close
the
on
speed.
this one.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom.
Just a fantastic play.
And then, Dan Sorensen wasn't at the goal line here to hit him in the helmet, so he was able to dive across the goal line, which was nice.
Yeah, nine career interceptions for him, which is a good number in 2 seasons. It's a beautiful play, man. Good finish. I think we got a couple more of them here.
This is the one from earlier, the underthrown ball. Yeah, just the end zone angle.
View.
But it's nice. It's just a nice play.
We get him here coming off late on the crosser, delivering a hit.
He recognizes the only option that I think that's Gordon has, and just comes up and takes it away. Nice form.
Good closing speed, like we both mentioned now. Guy who plays fast. He's off the edge, a little run support.
Yeah, to not only get up there and turn it back inside, but then be able to duck under the lead and make the play. All 3 of these first 3 guys, well, all of them really, but especially these first 3 guys that we're talking about are reliable tacklers as well, which, as we know from this past year, is critical for this defense. That play, saw it coming, blew it up. Play had no chance.
More slot fade coverage. Again, no wiggle room, man. Put him against slots at this level, he just eats them up. There's nowhere to go.
Right there, he's on that one, matched up against a much taller receiver in the red zone. They were obviously going to try to throw a jump ball, and he just pushed him to a spot so close to the boundary that the quarterback had no window.
Yep, I'm fascinated with him. Think he could be a good day 2 guy who could, be called a lot earlier than a lot of people think he could. So something worth paying attention to. Andre Sisco's up next. Talk about our guy out of Syracuse.
Oh man, if he hadn't had the ACL injury, he would be in the discussion with Moehrig for first safety off the board. Excuse me. He non-contact, kind of like what Grant Delpit had this year. An ACL, his second game, third game. I think he played 2 games this year.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, 6 foot even, you see almost 210 pounds. And reportedly, Feldman's freak list said he's clocked one in the 4.3s. So that and you'll see it, the speed and the closing speed in the clips that we're about to see. 136 tackles, 13 interceptions. That's the headline, obviously, but he's not afraid to come downhill. Super aggressive. Him and Moehrig both are guys that can sometimes get in trouble with their aggressiveness. We saw the clip where Moehrig didn't get bite on the double move, but sometimes their aggression can get them in a little trouble and that kind of stuff. But as you and I have talked about over the years that we were searching for quarterbacks, I would much, much rather have a guy that's a little too aggressive that you have to rein in a little bit than have some super conservative guy that's so scared to make a play that you got to try to coax anything out of him, because guys like these, the first two, and Andre Sisco, these are the guys that make the field flipping interceptions, the turnover, they change a game, they change a season. These are the kind of guys that we need on that back end. All three of them, any of the three. If this guy's healthy and they can get him at 59 or 89 or 91, I'll be tickled.
Yeah, I think he's listen. I think he had 13 interceptions. He had 12 interceptions in his first 2 years. 7 as a freshman. He was a freshman All-American. He might have been the freshman defensive player of the year. I think at least in the ACC he was. Really fun player, man. Like you said, rangy, plays long too. Like just you watch him on film, he looks like a big dude. And like our guy Mike Krupke here said, man, he's a 0 to 60 instantly type of guy. He's very rangy. He's very rangy. He's a lot of fun to watch. 136 tackles. Like I said, 13 total interceptions. Had one this year, 14 pass breakups too. So a lot of fun stuff in this tape here. A lot of blowing up crossers, man. He can decipher when teams want to run mesh with the best of them, and he put it hurting on LSU. He put it hurting on a lot of teams running this stuff, especially this Pitt game here. You're not going to get that drive concept. No, thank you. It's not happening.
He is so good coming downhill.
Look at the awareness there to see this kind of trick play happening. Should have picked it off. But, yeah, when he's coming downhill, this is just a crazy interception, man. And I think we'll get the end zone view a little bit later.
Oh, this one, yeah.
This great closing speed. You know, his quarterback's rolling his way. Single high center field.
Down, knew he had nobody behind him. And then this one, of course, yeah. That was just, I don't know what the quarterback was looking at, but, yeah, just closed the ground, saw it coming, and that's what he does. This one here, look at the ground he covers on that one.
Yeah. And that's Sam Howell. That's a kid who'll probably be quarterback one or in the conversation next year out of North Carolina. You know, trying to test him up the middle of the field. I don't know what he's thinking. That's a pretty bad throw, but you know, he's not. If he's inside the hash, he's going to make his way there. You know, that's not going to be a problem. I believe this was the only interception he had this year. I could be wrong. Before he got hurt,
had one this year. Yeah.
So hell of a player, man. A lot of fun. Definitely plays that middle of the field range. I really like how he can fluidly turn. Interesting player. So the last two that we're going to look at are guys we consider to be more of the strong safety type. Hamza that we're going to talk about here, and then our last guy too are, like I said, they're more box filling types. They can do different things, but guys who typically are box filling types, like most of the guys we looked at had 100 plus tackles. I mean, Hamza played 3 full years before his 4th year this year when it was cut short. But, I mean, he had 233 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, and 3 forced fumbles. He's a thumper, man. Talk about him.
Yeah. If he hadn't gotten hurt right at the end of 2019, I can't imagine he wouldn't have come out and been a top 100 pick last year, because his 2019, 100 and something tackles, 2 or 3 interceptions, forced fumbles. He was just everywhere. He's, for Browns fans that have been around for a while, he's kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, but he looks to me to be basically what they wanted Jabril Peppers to be, but he's a little more athletic, I think.
Yeah, I think he is too. A little more controlled athleticism. But, man, does he create dislodgement of the football? I got a couple Senior Bowl clips here because I thought he had a really nice Senior Bowl coverage display. But, yeah, you're looking at just some plays filling the alley. I mean, the dude comes up and hits. I mean, some safeties don't, you know, but he's a thumper here. Man coverage against the sail route. It's a beautiful, beautiful break, knocks that ball out. Again here against what looks like an in-working dig route, doesn't bite on that little shimmy, picks it off at the top of it. Tough to come by some of that Florida State film that we would love to come by, and some of the copyright stuff on YouTube has gotten dicey. So that's what we have of him. Just take our word. I think he makes a ton of great plays near the box. I think he did a nice job in the Senior Bowl making plays in space, showing that he can be a guy who, if you need him to cover the slot or you need him to cover tight ends, he can do that. So a lot of fun when checking out his tape for sure. And then the last one we have here, Hafunga, man, which is our guy who might still be on. Mike Krokus turned me on to him, and you knew about him well before I did. Talk about him a little bit, and then we'll go through his numbers, because his numbers are kind of staggering comparatively.
Well, first of all, he wears number 15, which was my number in high school, and I understand that's why he did it. It was an homage to me, so I like that. But yeah, he also another guy that seems like he's better, at least now, better up closer to the line than he is in the deep game, because we'll see in the clips that we see he closes like a bat out of hell. A couple hundred tackles, half a dozen sacks in his career. All 4 of his career interceptions came this year, which showed some improvement in the coverage. He does have a bit of a medical history. He had a broken collarbone. He had a shoulder injury, and this year he played, I think, 4 or 5 games with a deep thigh bruise, something like that. So that's something they're going to have to look at. That was his biggest question mark coming into the year. Could he stay healthy? And he did for the most part and played his ass off. So, if the folks in the white lab coats clear him and he's available anywhere near where he is on the, the simulators now, which we know those are estimators at best. But if he's in, that, especially if we can get him in that late day 2 range, that 89, 91 range, he'd be a great addition, I think, because he's very versatile.
I'm with you. 16 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, first team All-American consensus this year, the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. The tape is fun. He flies, man. He plays downhill. He plays fast. He's got an extra rover linebacker type feel to him. Patton and Jace, I see your guys' questions. We will throw those questions up at the very end here. I want to make sure you guys know if you have a question, submit it now. I will post those questions at the end as we go through this tape. He is number 15 there at the top of your screen, reading this little jet quarterback counter, which is a popular concept for a team that we are all too familiar with in the AFC North. Nice play there, deciphering that pull, defeating those blockers, playing edge support here in a jet scheme, not being fooled by that, and getting downhill on that zone concept. This is stuff that we see in the AFC North now. You're seeing these flat runners. Matt Canada is the offensive coordinator at Pittsburgh now. Loves to run that flat jet motion stuff. This is a great show here.
Great rep.
Which is another one that Mike turned to me on, which is a great zone concept where he starts to feel quarterback panic and just makes an instincts play. The end zone view you will get here is even better. 15 creeping on the left side of your screen here. Sitting in hook zone coverage, kind of floating around, making sure he's reading quarterback eyes and then breaks up. Yeah, this is just a beautiful play. Great closing speed, getting after the quarterback who can't get it past the line of scrimmage. So that's a penalty. Low coverage here. So again, this is just split zone, right? Getting his eyes downhill, meeting the running back's legs. He's filling his run alley. This is tight end counter. It's beautiful, man. They don't account for you. Take advantage of it and punish people. He's a hitter, man. He's a hitter.
Good form. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the one a couple of plays ago where he came up and made the throw, the grounding happen.
Yeah.
Passed off his responsibility. Then when he saw the play break down, he knew he had nobody threatening him behind him and had help behind him, and so he had free run. I mean, that's just a smart play. He knew he could. He wasn't giving up anything by coming up and trying to make that play in the backfield. This one he sees coming a mile away. I mean, again, and then this is the ones that he just blows up. This play had no chance before it was even snapped.
It's a popular Chiefs concept, Bills concept. Steelers will run it. Pittsburgh runs it. It's popular. The jet sweep, fly sweep stuff is coming. That did not play very well at the end. Let me see if I can get that to play a little cleaner. We'll see. It seems to be playing a little choppy, but he does a great job covering the dig and zone coverage there. It looks like it's not playing all too hot. Great job playing and forcing that pass break up there. But that's the end of the video. We are willing to talk. Any questions? I'll throw up some questions I see here. There's about 12 guys hovering, 12 subscribers hovering in here, so we can take any questions you have. Let's see here. I think Pat threw one up. We can read here. Are Morgan Hamsa a different breed at the position? That's not your question. My bad. Doesn't Woods want to have 3 safety look on defense? I feel like I remember him saying that before the season. I definitely think they are trending toward having 2 linebackers on the field, period. I mean, there are going to be times where they're going to have to play a third backer in base sets because you face multiple tight ends, but you would like to get it to the point where you have a guy as your third guy, like a Hufanga or somebody of that nature, or Ronnie Harrison too, where you can have him on the field as your third linebacker. So that stuff is where they want to get to. Every team wants to have more athletic guys on the field while not giving up things in the run game. That's where the NFL is going. You know, if you play a guy as your extra defensive back, you put him on the field and he can be picked on in the run game, you can't do it. The Browns did not have enough safeties to feel comfortable doing that this year. They tried to do some of it, then the injuries happened and some other things happened. So they just don't have enough depth there. That's why we want them to add to the safety room to give them that chance. Jacob Stephen Holland seems to play a bunch of nickel and flat and covers the flats majority of the time. Auburn tape comes to mind. Is that something schematic, or were they trying to hide him? Kind of your thoughts. I mean, basically, Jay's asking here, can he be a center fielder type? Can he be a deep half guy, or is he a 4-2-5 extra safety box type of guy in your opinion, Steve?
No, I think he can. I think he can do it. But again, like I said, when his tape was on, if you go back and look at Oregon's complete defensive backfield, they had so many guys that were so versatile that they did a lot of different things. They were able to disguise and put guys in places that you wouldn't expect them. And I think that's, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what you're saying Joe Woods wants to do. He wants guys that, the opposing quarterback can't look across the line and have any idea who's coming, who's dropping, who's covering where, because they can all do 3 or 4 different things. And I think if Grant Delpit comes back healthy, and we've heard nothing to the contrary, and becomes the player that they thought he could be, between him and Harrison and pretty much any one of these guys, they're going to have a lot of disguising opportunities. It's going to be a fantastic improvement in that area, just because, like Jake said, they want 2 linebackers, but that second linebacker, I really think it's more of a hybrid rover, whatever you want to call him. I think a guy like Hamza or Hafanga, and there's a couple others in the draft that are cut from the same cloth. I think kind of an oversized safety is maybe not the perfect way to put it, but I think they're looking more for that than what you would traditionally think of as a linebacker. That's what I think they're going for.
Yeah, which leads to the question about an FSU kid or USC kid, which are the 2 guys, Thompson and Hafanga, you're talking about. I think they have similar skill sets to Ronnie, but as we've seen between, injuries, and you can never have too many guys that can do multiple things in your secondary. You can genuinely never have too many, especially guys who are willing to step up and play the run game at a high level. And I think those 2 are guys who are willing to play the run game at a high level. So if the value is there, 3rd round, 4th round, something of that nature happens, they could certainly go after them. So last call on questions. I'll throw the last one I saw here. This goes to Steve. You can answer that one, my friend. I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
He's a corner who can give you snaps at safety, in my opinion. I think he's shown everything you want to see from a cornerback. But if you get into a situation like they were in this year, where the injuries and COVID and whatever happens and the numbers just don't work out, he's a guy you can look at and go, hey, this week, Fatu, we need you to drop back and play safety, and he has the skill set to do it. So, but if you ask me to say what would I draft him as, I would be drafting him as a corner to play opposite Denzel.
This last question that just popped up, Pat, and thrown at it, is one of your favorite questions about day 3 guys that you love, or some sleepers. Anybody that pops to your head, Steve, before we split?
As far as a big, fast, rangy safety, Reed Blankenship at Middle Tennessee State is still one of my sleeper guys. He had some hype early in the year, and then the season kind of fizzled, both for him and the team. But I think that was a lot to do with just 2020. It just got to him, and it got to the team. Because all the athleticism and all the skills that he showed leading up to that year, they're still there. It just was such a, it's so hard to evaluate this year, because you don't know how much practice they got in a given week. You don't know, what they were doing, if they got to go to class, if they were locked in their dorm room for 5 straight days before the game. I mean, there's so much. But if you're looking for a guy currently graded 5th round and later, that if they go out and sign a free agent, sign John Johnson or Marcus Williams or something like that, and they're not looking at these early guys that we've been talking about, but they want to add somebody younger to sort of learn behind, Reed Blankenship is the guy that I would love to see come out of that late day 3 group of picks that we have.
All right, Steve, you're the man. This was fun. I think we're hitting that half-hour sweet spot for everybody's attention span, and kind of covering the nuts and bolts of what we need to cover. We appreciate you guys joining us. Look like we got 12 or 13 subs. I will post this for all the subscribers to watch days ahead of anybody else getting it. And always, or tell anybody that you talk with the OBR to let them know, man, join us for these fire away questions. We will have a free agency live session. I know we're getting around the corner, very close to having our weekly radio show that we'll post. And I know Barry's going to do an OBR daily post as well. The Newswire will make an appearance here soon. So a lot of fun stuff on the horizon. We will be back again with this same draft content next week. We will switch positions as usual and talk about another one. I'm not sure if we're going wide receiver or what next week. We're switching it up. Maybe D tackle. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the week takes us. But if you have not checked out all of the other content on safeties this week, please go to the OBR, check it out. Check out the OBR Film Breakdown podcast. That's another thing that's out there that you should be listening to. We had a great session with our capologist friend over at PFF, Brad Spielberger. Some good stuff on understanding rollover cap and different things like that. So for you cap nerds who love that stuff, not me, you can look into that. But anyway, thanks for joining us, Steve, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
See you, brother.
See you guys, and go Browns.